Hello everybody, Tim from Lessons on the Web back here again. Time to turn our brains back into music mode for another lesson, this time about chords and how to master them quickly. So we're going to talk about some basic tips I have for you about learning chords, as well as a couple of exercises that I really think will help out over on my website. So let's get started with the lesson. So the first tip I have for you is become familiar with major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, and augmented chords. All of those are triads, by the way, 3-note chords. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I do have a playlist that I'll put in the description, which will really help you understand these basic types of chords. But I'm going to assume you pretty much know what those are about before continuing on. So one of the things you really want to know about the chords, these 4 types of triads, is basically how to spell the chords. And by spell, I don't mean C-H-O-R-D. I mean actually saying what letters make up that chord. So for instance, C major, as you can see right here, C major is made up of the notes C, E, and G. So when you do this little exercise later, you want to be aware of the 3 notes that make up that chord. Like F major, for instance, is spelled F-A-C. That's what we call the chord spelling, just to alleviate any confusion going on. So, and an E minor chord would be E, G, B. So you want to be aware of your majors and your minors. We basically just have majors here for you today on this sheet. The better you are at spelling the chords, the better you will be at playing them. You really want to know the stuff like the back of your hand, and you want to spend at least a little bit of time each practice session going over this, and before long, after a couple of months, maybe even a couple of years, you will have your chords mastered. But I'm going to give you a little exercise today that will really help. So if you follow this guide, you will be able to master them in a much shorter period of time. Another tip I have for you is to become familiar with chord progressions, mainly cadences. Now, what is a cadence? Well, cadence is really a chord pattern. Isn't that what I just said? So you want to be familiar with these chord patterns because cadences are really common chord patterns that you find in music. Now, you can find cadences online probably if you searched in Google. There is a book you can get on Amazon called Scales and Arpeggios, and you can find the cadences in the back of those. So one thing you really want to learn is your cadences. Now these are going to be groups of different chords. Actually, I can show you here. So here we have another chord sheet, and it says C major pattern. Really what it means is C major cadence pattern. And as you can see, there's 3 different chords there. There's what we call the 1 chord, which is whatever key you're in. So if it's C major, it's that chord. And then you have F major, G major, things like that. With this sheet, you really just want to, in the cadences, kind of understand how each chord moves between one another. So when you're looking at these, you want to say, okay, this first chord we have right here, there it says C major pattern. That's C, E, and G. By the way, you always want to be saying your chord spellings when you play these. Then you're moving to what's called an F major. Now, if you notice, it's not evenly stacked, meaning it's in an inversion, but the notes of this chord are F, A, and C. And notice how when you move between those 2 chords, you're moving these top 2 notes up and keeping the note that's the same between them. And then for the last chord here, you want to be aware that you are going to move the top one down and the bottom note down and keep this one the same. So if you notice, whenever you play these chord patterns, you want to do what's called retaining the common tone. And actually, if you find cadences, they will do that automatically. But if you're wondering why some of these are in group position and inversions, that's why. And if you don't know what inversions is, the playlist I had provided you in the description will help you out as well. So you want to become familiar with what these patterns look like on the piano, as well as on the sheet music itself. You want to be able to look at a chord right away and say, okay, it's a C major or G major. Again, I actually have a really great lesson on this about identifying chords. Again, will be provided to you in the description. That's probably the word of the day, but I'm kind of making some assumptions here on what you may already know, and I just want to make sure that you're all caught up if you are lost. Let's take a look here. And now when you play these will be provided over on my website. Now, play these, you want to say, okay, I'm playing a C major chord. By the way, if you notice, it's called chord inversion. So when you play each example, each 2 measures, that's one example. So that's C major. They're all C major chords. You're just switching out the order because you're always playing the notes C, E, and G. But the point is when you play these, you want to first say, all right, I'm playing C major. It's spelled, remember, chord spelling is important, C, E, and G. And then you want to play the inversions. Next, you want to go to the next one, F major. And when I play this one, make this a little bit larger for us. When I play this one, the notes F, A, and C, I want to say to myself, okay, I'm playing the notes F, A, and C, and that's an F major chord. Major chord's always sounding happy, by the way. And then I want to play the inversions up and down. And then G major, made of the notes with 3 notes. Am I playing G, B, and D? And then what I would really do is I would spend a week just maybe working on 3 of these. Now you may be able to play through a lot of them in one day, but the reason I suggest you spend a week going over these, like maybe learn the C major one. And by the way, you might not be able to play them as fast as me, and that's okay. Then go to the F major one. And by the way, say the chord spellings along with it. And then each day, or each week, just add 3 more. And the reason behind that is it will help you concentrate on 3 of them at a time. I feel like if you try to tackle the entire sheet right away, it will get very easy to get messed up. So make a goal each week to really commit to memory the chord spelling of 3 of these. So like I said, week 1 do C major, F major, G major. Next week do D major, E major, and A major. And one thing I want to tell you about is you need to pay attention to the key signature, which are the sharps and flats that are written there, because those sharps will, anytime you have a chord and one of those sharps in the key signature is there, you have to play that sharp. So when you do D major, you have to know that it's D, F sharp, A, not D, F, A, that would be D minor. So always pay attention to what notes are sharped in the key signature. So, week 2 you would do D major, E major, A major. Week 3 you do B major, D flat major, E flat major. I think you get the idea until you go through all of them. And like I said, commit to memory the 3 notes that make up each of them and tackle them 3 at a time. So down here we have cadence patterns. And there's Roman numerals written there, so that means that this is the first chord of the scale. The next one is the fourth note of the scale, fourth chord of the scale. It's not very important to, it is important to know that. And then you have 5, 1. So that's what the Roman numerals are about. They're telling you which note of that scale that chord is based on, in case you're curious. But you want to learn the cadence patterns 3 keys at a time as well. So learn the one in C major. And by the way, you tell yourself, okay, C major spelled C, E, and G. And then the next one you want to do the G major one. And then it's G, B, and D. And then D major. And then it's of D, F sharp, and A. And like I said, when you play this for the first time, you won't know exactly how to play them right off the bat. It will take you quite a bit of time. It might take you the entire week to actually play the 3 cadence patterns for each line. So as before, for week 1 you want to learn C major, G major, D major, the exact same as before, A major, E major, and B major, and then each week add 3 more and commit them to memory. That's the most important thing. And then you probably every once in a while you want to pick a random key and you want to say, okay, how about E flat? How do I play an E flat major chord? Well, after you practice these, you'll know, okay, E flat major, E flat G, B flat. So that's why the chord spellings are important. They will come back to haunt you if you are not familiar with how each chord is constructed. This is true for minors as well. Now, I don't have the sheet for you here right now. I'm making one actually in the process of doing so. So just learn these majors for now and commit them to memory and see how you do. By understanding how the chords are spelled and being able to play the cadence patterns, not only will you be able to understand how to construct those chords and how to spot them, you will also understand the kind of finger motions between each of the chords. If you have any questions about chords, leave them in the comments. I would really like to hear them, and so we can really come together, and I can maybe even make a better lesson on this in the future. So I'd really love to hear from you. And by the way, I also want to mention that this lesson was brought to you by the supporters on Patreon, which help kind of keep this channel going and these live streams and everything. And one other thing I want to tell you about is over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, I have a lot of courses that I made that can actually take you far beyond what the YouTube channel takes you. So the YouTube channel is designed mostly towards beginners, even though some of these lessons might not seem like so. But if you take basically the first playlist I did and work all your way up to now, that's really still covering the beginner spectrum. So if you really want to learn a lot more about piano music and piano music theory, improvisation, sight reading, rhythm, all kinds of things that I dabble in a little bit on the channel, but I go into a lot more depth there on the website. And it's also it's instructional videos if you want to know, along with like playing examples, real songs to play, assignments and activities to really help you learn. So it's a lot more than what the YouTube channel can offer you. And this lesson on chords helpful, I highly suggest you check out the playlist I have on chords, which you can find in an annotation or in the video description, depending on what you're watching this video on. And of course, you want to subscribe because more great videos are coming out every Friday. So thanks a lot and have a great day.